I think that's broadcast. Let's see, let's make sure we're on. We go to YouTube. Let's make sure we're live. Let's hit the broadcast button. So. Let's make sure, yep. We are live.
Alright.
Alright. So, testing out some new equipment. Let's make sure that we get this set up. What's up, Ari?
What's up? What's up, man?
What you doing, man?
Sitting in this chair. Sitting in the hot seat.
Hot seat. Got it. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, just on a little Shoot the Shit podcast, little stream, joined by my boy Ari, my boy Nate.
What's up, what's up?
All good. And yeah, we're just gonna shoot the shit for a little bit. We're just mostly doing this to test the equipment. We've been messing around with it for the last 10-15 minutes. I think we got it to a point where it's gonna sound okay online. Recently renovated the studio, and
Yep, congrats on that, by the way, man. That's a big move.
thanks, man. All this new equipment, it's high tech, and after the last podcast with Keka, man, it's just we had to upgrade.
I really enjoyed that podcast, man. It was really, really motivating, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Appreciate it.
Yep, and if Keka is watching, man, thanks very much for coming on last week, because that was freaking awesome. You know, that was a wonderful story, and Brother Jordan's here. He's already getting some feedback on how inspirational it was, you know, and if anybody's watching, go ahead and support Keka's business there. I have to look it up on Facebook
Bang
again.
for Bang 808.
Bang for Bang.
Yeah.
He's doing some really good stuff with that, so I'm really impressed just that he overcame all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And now he's doing his own thing, and so far, so good, right?
And he's still in the industry that he loves. That's the thing, the fight MMA community, right. He's still giving back to it. That's the great thing about it. Even after everything, he's still found a way to stay in and still help people out a lot. So,
yeah, and also thanks to Brother John, his cousin.
Yep.
We had a great time with those guys. It was a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, and that really set the bar for the whole thing. You know, we didn't know what to expect on that podcast. I don't think. And even what you were saying, you were just like, you were watching it, and you were just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a good stuff.
It was. I was sucked in. I was like, man, just you know, hear all the trials and tribulations, and like, you know, just following his heart.
Yep.
Keeping that going. It's it was awesome.
Probably relate to his surfer story too. Like, even if you lose a limb, surfer loses a limb, well, he's still going to be in the sand watching the waves, and no matter what, you know. That's,
yeah. 100%.
So,
yeah, I can tell you.
Yeah, and you had to overcome a couple challenges there. Yeah, with the audio going out for about a minute and a half or so, and the kids were going crazy down there, man.
Yeah. I had to step out.
I was like waiting for Jordan to be like.
Dude, it took me a lot of time to do that.
I was sitting there like, oh man, I can hear this. I know Brother Jordan can hear it, right? So, what's gonna happen? What do we do? You know, we're live right now.
I was getting a little agitated by that, but I think even so, it turned out well. Kids be kids, you know.
Kids are kids, and this is a home studio, a new adventure, you know. So you're still working through some stuff, but hey, Brother Jordan's got this, man. So thanks for everybody who's out there watching to, you know, stick around. Subscribe if you can subscribe. Please do
subscribe. That helps us. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers at least over the next few months. I know next week we are officially going to be doing the Green. Jordan Espinoza, he might be bringing another bandmate, but he's from the Green Band. That's going to be a sick podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to be sick.
That'll be cool, and really, I kind of want to make sure that everybody understands we're really here about Jordan's story, right, from the Green.
Yep.
So, of course, it's important that he's part of the Green and the band. We all love the band, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's really about him.
Yep.
And I think last week's podcast, we saw that Brother Keka overcame these huge struggles and challenges, right?
Yeah.
And every successful person has had to overcome something.
Yeah.
And personally, that's what I'm interested in, you know. So if he's willing, we'd love to talk about the band, right? But I'm really interested to know his story, where he's at today, what are they working on, you know? It's going to be awesome.
I want to know, like, from him, I think, because when we get Easton James, he's a local comedian, we're going to be getting him pretty soon. Also, like all these guests that I have, I think it's super important to see how different it is from somebody being a musician or a comedian growing up here in Hawaii versus, you know, California, somewhere on the mainland, because they have the Comedy Store there every single day. You spend it at the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, whatever, and you're able to grow up in an environment around other comedians. Here, I don't know if they really have that. And,
yeah, I'm not sure.
And it costs way more to get to the mainland to tour than it does just to drive around.
Yep.
My first comedy show I've ever been to was Uncle Something's over off of Kapiolani.
Oh,
I think actually I went with you.
Yeah.
That's the first. Yeah, that's the first one I've ever been to, and it was a cool experience. But it just seems like they just did that as a, you know.
Yeah.
That night,
yep.
You know, I don't know how often they do it.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's what I want to know too. Is like that was at Hawaiian Brian's.
Hawaiian Brian's.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I was gonna say Uncle Brian.
Uncle Brian. Hawaiian Brian's. Yeah, that was a good show. That was awesome. That was fun having that comedy there. But I don't know, like you said, how often they do that.
Right. It's really prevalent.
Much more of a challenge to do it here, especially with
sure.
those comedy shows, right?
Yeah.
I've never been part of that scene, the comedy stuff. I mean, I love watching comedy movies, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different environment when you go into those clubs or whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
And sit there and watch a comedian.
Live atmosphere.
Yeah. And you just laughing, spitting and everything, you know. I would love to get into that scene and just check out some shows. So.
Yeah, I did buy some tickets to Stephen Hofstetter. He does all those Reddifile YouTube channels, or he's what is it, Heckler's Owned.
Oh yeah, I see.
He puts all those videos out, yeah? So he's coming out, I think in November, and I bought 6 tickets ahead of time, and I'm giving them out to all my friends here.
When's he coming out again?
November.
I'm gone.
They're gone, bro.
Peacing out, man.
Yeah, we're talking about, you know, Hawaii and comedians. The first thing that comes to my mind is Frank DeLima.
Oh, of course.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
He's the one on the cab commercial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's hilarious, man. I love that guy, man.
Yeah.
And he's got the funny Christmas and the Filipino Christmas song, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah. You gotta check it out. Check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not too bad. What else? We have Rebel Soldiers. That's another one lined up.
Working on
it. And then the Monsanto employees, make sure to check that out. Bro, we just got some, this podcast is just moving way too fast, like faster than I ever thought. It's moving at the right pace, but it's just coming together way faster than I could have ever imagined. I gotta thank everybody who comes on, because I know it's nerve-wracking at first when you get on a podcast, live stream, no backing out, you know?
Bro, I'm nervous right now.
It's okay.
I'm all like,
you guys
are right.
But you know, last week was a milestone, right? Because I mean, you did one podcast already, right? But that number 2 was kind of, it was a serious, hard-hitting type of show.
Yeah.
And it was a milestone. So now you walk out of there and you're like, wow, man, that was some serious stuff right there. Yeah. So now we got to do this.
Yeah, it's like you set the line almost. You know what I mean? Like I was day and night, bro. Like from watching the one before, that one I was just like,
whatever.
Just locked in.
Yeah.
Just locked in.
And well, I'm glad that kind of proves the proof of concept, right? Because this was really a proof of concept that I was trying out. I've always wanted to do. I've been talking to you about it for years. You know, when you and Sage were getting those little debates, and we'd all three, and I was like, bro, you got me.
We should have it.
Yeah. Well, I think he's coming back out there to Hawaii, and he always said he wanted to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be cool to have just like a nice little debate. Hopefully it stays civil. You know, you guys, everybody talks over each other when we are very passionate about our stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good.
Yep. So, Brother Jordan, what's going on in your life, man?
Oh man.
Besides the podcast.
I'm gonna be releasing 2 mobile games this year. I can't really talk too much about either of them, just because NDA and whatnot. But 2 mobile games. I think one's coming out in a couple weeks. We're trying to shoot for that. Don't know if we'll actually hit it, but iOS, Android, both the games are gonna be on it, and.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's finally coming to fruition, because I remember going to your place. Man, it was this a couple of years ago, and you were working. You showed me on the computer these games. I was like, "That's unbelievable, man! You're actually making a freaking video game, you know?"
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's some good stuff, man.
It's hard work, but I love it. It's my passion. It doesn't feel like I'm working when I do it. Yeah, I get exhausted. My brain is just fried. but it's what I love to do. So when you do what you love, it's not like you're actually working.
Right.
You don't work a day in your life.
Yeah, of course, man.
Passion, you know?
I thought it was the coolest thing. I called you, what was this, last week or something, and you're like, oh, I got a meeting with my team, you know. I was like, that sounded cool in of itself, you know. I was like, damn, this dude's got a team right here, you know. So yeah, man,
cool,
do it big.
We're one of the teams I'm on for one of the games, helping start up this company, Hycon Games, with my boy Chad Brown. We got a lot of talented people. We're just, right now, we're trying to keep the talent in Hawaii because there's not a platform or industry right now for games, even animation. There's not really an industry here other than small little local cartoons and maybe some TV commercials. But there's nothing outside of that for the games industry. We lose all of our talent to the mainland. And people want to live on the island that they grew up on. You know, they want to come back home. So they go to the mainland, they get a college education, and then they got to stay there to fulfill their passion and their dreams. There's no place for them here. So we're trying to build that industry and make sure that they can actually stay home if they want. Be here in Hawaii, at home, and still do what they love.
Yeah, that's a great point, because even I work in the agriculture industry, big ag, let's not get into that right now, but you know, it's the same thing in not just the video gaming industry, it's same in the agriculture industry, where we see a lot of guys coming in from the mainland because that's where the talent is in agriculture. And so it sounds kind of weird, but you know, Iowa, Central America is where all the big stuff happens with farming, and a lot of the technology is rooted. And you come here, we have to bring those guys here, right, to farm. And you know, the company I work for actually started an initiative to try to sort of grow local talent. And I asked some questions about it a couple weeks ago to one of our big bosses, and you know, it's really difficult to do. And I imagine if that's something that's difficult to do in, you know, the company I work for here in Hawaii, which is a really big company, it's got to be tough for even, especially the video game industry, which is relatively much smaller than the industry I work in.
Right.
Yeah, it's very specialized, but a game developer wears multiple hats, especially if you're an independent developer, not with a AAA company like Ubisoft or EA. We don't have that backing. A lot of us have worked for them, but we don't like it because, for lack of a better word, some of those companies like EA, they just slave drive their people into the ground. They don't give them, there's no reward for them doing all that work, and they're just pumping out content, and they don't get to like breathe. Nobody gets to breathe. And so eventually people start hating what they do. Their passion is lost, and they've been worked to death. And they just either get out of the games industry and lose, there's more talent gone, you know? So it's really hard.
Do you think they're not given the opportunity to put their own, like, you know, not twist, but like, you know, flavor onto what you're talking about? Is that what you mean by like drip, like ran into the ground, or?
No, it's more like
output of work.
Output of work.
Yeah.
So something that might take a really good company maybe 2 years to develop a game, they want it in one.
Right.
So now there's like 20-hour work weeks sometimes,
yeah.
You know, and that's a normal, and you do that for a year straight. Eventually, you just
get burnt
burn out.
Yeah, understood.
But if you burn out, then they fire you, or they kick you off the team.
Right.
Like companies like Nintendo, it's more of a family, right? So they keep people, even though they don't have them working necessarily on that next big project. They still keep them as like they're a very.
They bench them, but they're still in that team. Pretty much what you're saying. Yeah, I got
they're
you.
Still on the team.
Yeah.
So no matter what project they're working on, they may have been hired for like I don't know, just Mario, right?
Yeah.
And then that game gets complete, and they still have a job. So that's one of the things. Now, the other companies like EA, there's a turnover rate like 3 months. They'll bring somebody in for 3 months, and now once that job is done, they have to find another job.
Dang.
You get let go. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just so insane.
That's amazing.
And so we want to build that family environment here because it's already Hawaii, right?
Right.
So we're trying to build a really good company here that can give people options, and so that's what we're working on. We're working on the first game there.
That's cool. Are there any big games that's ever come out of Hawaii that you know of?
No, there was a movie that came out of Hawaii by Square Enix. They were here they had a FOB here, forwarding operating base, and it was basically just a render farm. They rendered the movie Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which kind of flopped, but it was. They rendered most of their movie here. They had an office in Honolulu, and then Konami was here, but again, it was a forward operating base. There wasn't any real big gaming or game development going on here.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So
Japan is huge with the video games, obviously.
Huge.
I mean, what's the ties between Japan and Hawaii?
just that we enjoy playing the games that they put out. Like Pokemon, that's like one of the biggest games everybody grew up with here in Hawaii. So to give back to the community, the latest one, Pokemon Sun and Moon, that came out for the 3DS, and working on another one, but they kind of based the entire game around Hawaii to give back. So they would name something different. It was called the Alola region instead of the Aloha region, and so they would just change the names, but a lot of it was just kind of centered around Hawaii and Hawaiian names. Just to say,
cool.
give a thanks to all the support we've given the Pokemon, team.
Right.
So because
That
it's super
Pokemon
big
was
here.
crazy out here, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy everywhere,
It was
right? People were
everywhere,
getting run over in the damn road and stuff.
Just taking trips down the road. I remember just taking trips. Like, where you at? I'll meet you at your house. Okay. I'm around right now. I'm just getting a ride over here to pick up some Pokies. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's I was telling you.
Yeah.
That's right. I was playing the Pokemon Go. That was crazy.
It was unbelievable, man. I think I may be a bad father for this, but I didn't let my son download it, not because I was against the video games, but he was already really into it. My son's just crazy addicted to this stuff, you know.
Right.
So as a parent, I think we all struggle with that to some extent, right?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not a believer that video games are bad, right? Because it develops. It develops, I guess, a certain part of the brain. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I think it's just as healthy as playing outside. But it's how you as a parent regulate it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Right. That's huge.
Yeah, but the Pokemon game was crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
They put some fail-safes into place for sure to help people. Like, a lot of people were driving their cars while playing Pokemon Go, and like actually driving, and so they were getting into wrecks.
Yeah.
And so they put in a thing: if you're going up to a certain speed, you can't catch anything.
Oh, so if you had your GPS on though, but you
Yeah.
need your GPS to do this
You
thing.
need it.
Got it. Boom.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you don't have that,
Yeah.
and you're going like 60 miles an hour down the highway,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an easy way to like get points and other things in the game. If you're traveling down the highway, there's a lot of stuff there.
Right.
But you got to be a passenger, and so they put in a thing in there where you have to click. Okay, I'm a passenger. Are
Yeah.
you sure? Yes.
Yeah.
So that
Oh, that's how Waze is.
yeah.
Like they'll set up a thing and they oh, are you driving? No, I'm not driving. They're like,
That's what it is.
it's
yeah,
not
exactly.
me. So yeah, that's
Pretty
pretty cool.
interesting, yeah.
What was the story of that though? Because
With what?
the Pokemon game was just some guy from, I guess Pokemon is a business, right? More or less.
Yeah.
And just some guy came up with it. I think it was an older gentleman, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, he's instantly famous, pretty much,
It
right?
took off so quick because it was just something new, and it was. I mean, they had like the, what is that? Tamagotchis, those little tiny digital pets back in the day.
No clue.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was going everywhere. Tamagotchi, those little Tamagotchis. It was, your pet could die. Your pet could, you feed it.
You gotta
play with
maintain
it,
this
you gotta maintain
digital-
a digital pet. Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
one
kinda
of the
cool,
things.
though. It's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It gave, it was big, and everybody had one, and so it's kind of how it went.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up because there's some story behind it, you know, with the idea behind it, the guy who made it or whatever, you know.
Yep.
And it was an interesting story, but I'm kind of teasing people because I don't know what it is, right? But
Yeah.
I guess kind of going back to that Japan piece, so there's obviously a lot of talent going from Hawaii to the mainland.
Yep.
Is there any talent going from Hawaii to Japan or
Oh,
any other
Oh
areas?
yeah, it's getting pulled over because they have like one of the biggest companies is Ubisoft. They make Assassin's Creed, right? So they're more of a Canadian or French-based company, and they have a lot of locations around the world. But you end up going there to those other locations. They do have some. I think they have one location, maybe two in the U.S., probably in California and Washington. I gotta confirm that, but they're mostly a non-American company, right? So no matter what company is outside of America, you have talent getting sucked away from Hawaii going there. There's tons of people on all these teams from Hawaii, but there's no team in Hawaii.
Like no base.
There's no base.
No home camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, And so you gotta, spend money wherever you are in the world to come back home to Hawaii, and
Right.
you go back off, which is fine. I mean, it's great, but I think I still want people to have the option to be able to work here and to be able to do what they love.
That's important, and there's a lot of money in the video game industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be good for the state, period, to have some of that remain
Yeah.
here as well. So it's kind of beneficial for all, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember when I was first, because I'm self-taught for majority of my stuff. When I first started getting into it, I was real young. It was like a $5 billion industry back then. Like it was, and it's like well over, I think, I don't know the exact figures, but it's billions. It's doubled every 5 years, for the past, 15, 20 years.
I wouldn't be surprised if the global industry is near $1 trillion. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's, some things are sort of endemic to the United States of America or the Western world, but man, video games, you can probably look up YouTube videos of kids with TVs in Uzbekistan or whatever,
Yeah.
with video games and stuff.
Mhm.
How the hell they get out of
Even-
it, but
Even certain states, not necessarily like other countries, states, they have their own video games. You know what I mean? Sometimes they mod that towards like their politics or what's behind it. Like this state is the enemy, and not just like Modern Warfare or
Yeah.
World War II. Like it's a big agenda. You know what I mean? So it's.
right.
That makes sense, yeah.
But they're more like on lockdown as far as other stuff they can get in, so they have their own state-run kind of
Yeah.
weird shit,
It's just like subliminal messaging. right?
or just blatantly, you know what I mean? Like it's. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel that way sometimes with video
Yeah.
games stuff too. I'm like, what are they really trying to say?
There's
Like,
a message in everything today.
Transformers, man. I was watching
Yeah.
Transformers this one time, and let me tell you something. I was like, yo, this is a propaganda movie, man. I know what they're trying to say. I see through their shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
And then the next morning, I was like, dude, where the fuck? What was I doing, man? Like, holy
Right.
shit.
What was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it makes sense. I mean, I guarantee that a lot of the things that they do is they do put subliminal messages in a lot of this thing. They always have to push an agenda, and I say they, right? Like, who's they? Right?
We all know who
we, all,
they is.
we all know who
They is a general. It's
This
pretty
is a
much a
general
general
term,
like term, man, because we.
Yeah.
We would like to be like, hey, it's these people right here, or whatever it is. But I hate to kind of say it like this, like, I don't know, I believe in God, right? But I've never physically seen God. I've just seen things through my life that makes me believe it,
Yeah.
dearly. Not necessarily just things I've read or whatever, because that's somebody wrote that. You know what I'm saying? But like, we know there is a they. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be a super sinister they, but that there's a tide that's moving this water
Yeah.
some direction that we really can't see, but we can feel that shit.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like wind, man.
It's like wind.
Wind trips me out. It's fucking invisible, man. But the
powerful,
trees
right?
move.
The trees
You know what I'm
move.
saying? Like every day I see wind, it trips me out. It makes me like, it blows my fucking mind. And it's simple. We take it for granted.
Yeah.
Electricity, the same thing.
Yeah.
It's fucking invisible, man. But
Yeah.
that shit like powers things and.
Yeah.
Just basic simple things that could be like profound.
It just charges those electrons through the,
Sorry, I kind of jumped off.
No, good.
But
No,
yeah,
it's good.
yeah.
I mean, we can really talk about anything like
Yeah.
that. Like.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. There's been this argument for a long time, right, that
Okay.
video games affect children, right?
Mhm.
And you kind of know where I'm going with this, where
Yeah.
kids play these shooting games, really violent games.
Right.
And I've played some of these games when I was growing up, and this is personal opinion. I've never grabbed a gun and started shooting up people or whatever. It's never influenced me in that way because I perceive what reality is and isn't, right?
Right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on all these school shootings? Not to get into that too specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the association with the video games.
I think like with video games, there is a sense, and I love playing video games. Like I play with Jordan all the time. We be on the same team.
Yep.
He's more like tactical. I'm more like just run in there, start shoot shit up. But I think there is an element of like desensitizing you, to a point. So it kind of goes back to how you're raised. You know what I'm saying? The appreciation for life that is instilled in you as you've grown up. Those experiences. With the school shooting, I think there's a lot of things I think, but I think a lot of it starts at home, and a lot of it has to do with like that person's mental state. And I don't know these people. I can't say they're unstable or whatever, you got to be crazy as fuck, or at least like so fucking gone that you're gonna go and shoot at some fucking people. Like you know, there's got to be something off there. Whether it be from people saying bullying, people saying whatever. He has access to guns. He's gonna have access to something. Someone's gonna have always access to something. You know what I mean?
And that's one thing too is no matter what tool that they have, they're always gonna have access to that tool. They're always gonna do it. So there was there was a Governor Matt Bevin and Representative Brian Mast. They've been on this whole thing, and in every interview since the shooting in Florida, they've been trying to push that violence in video games caused this shooter to start shooting.
They're just pointing the finger at something else.
They're just pointing the finger. And I hit him up on Twitter, and I was like, well, I'm challenging you guys to an open dialogue, a civil debate about what evidence you have that proves that these guys that video games is actually causing these kids and triggering something in them to do that. Because the games that we're all playing right now, they've been released around the entire world, and the other countries don't have this problem.
I'll give a little something on this, right? So, for instance, I'll get my playing right now. World War II, modern Call of Duty, whatever. Yeah.
World War II.
I won't play it in front of my kid. He's 2 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because not that I don't think he's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go grab something, but like he's a kid. He doesn't need to be seeing that stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I think it's gonna cause him to go and shoot other people? No, I personally don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
Just like anything, any kind of movie that you have, rated R, whatever it is, it's made to like 8, so these kids can't see it at this time. It doesn't look. I think the biggest problem is not they're just pointing their fingers at like this or that or whatever elements. Do I think it desensitizes people? Sure, to a point. Not to the point you're gonna go and shoot something up. A kid, it can give them the wrong fucking message. A kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not what we consider an adult. I'm shaking, man. You guys got me. But, but I think. Look, I love to practice with firearms. You know, I'm huge into like being responsible with your firearms. Nothing pisses me off more than somebody who's not responsible, even like at the range.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even if the person's gonna flag you, man, it gets me pissed. But I think. There should be
guidelines of sort.
I want to say kind of like greater regulation, but not to the point where it's like ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like regulation as far as like, you know, they talk about the loopholes. You don't really need to prove shit when you go to like, you know, a gun show or whatever. Okay, fine. But I think the greatest thing you could do for gun regulation or to regulate this shit is have these people have access to help.
Yeah.
You can take access to guns away. It's going to be something else. You can take access to something else away. It's going to be.
Yeah.
They need help. They need, you know, whether just like we do for the suicide prevention. You know, we do 22 push-ups a day or whatever it is. We post online. You know, hey, this is the 1-800 number.
Yeah.
They need to figure out like how to get help to these people. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's been the trend is guns. You know what I'm saying? So. You take the guns away, it's gonna be something else. Someone's gonna come up with some fucking electronic, like EMP, plasma, butane fart machine, because it kills people. They're gonna
knives. I mean, not to cut you off, but knives are actually I could be. I'm not wrong on this. I just don't have the statistic in front of me. But knives are the #1 weapon of choice. I guess we would call it that. Not so much in schools, right?
Right.
But, I understand the whole argument.
Knives is huge.
Yeah. So I mean, so what do? Do you ban knives?
Right.
Right.
It gets sorry.
No, you're good. So right now, you got the kids marching on Washington D.C., which I think is an awesome thing. You know.
Capitals too, yeah.
You know, I do question the motivation, not the shooting but motivation, right? But the backing of these large organizations, the backing of politicians.
Agenda.
You know, you want to. The kids shouldn't be forced to kind of. Back these certain agendas, and it's kind of what it looks like is happening right now.
There's a taste of that for sure.
Yeah, and guns are not going anywhere. The kids can say all they want. These mothers' organizations can say all they want. Guns are not going anywhere. You know, especially in the United States of America, of all countries. So let's find a solution in the middle. Not everybody's going to be happy, right?
Right.
And we got to do something.
Give and take. There's always going to be a little.
Got to do something, man, because kids are getting shot up.
Yeah.
And I worry about my 2 kids in school right now.
Yeah. It's never something that we really had to grow up worrying about. you know, in school shootings.
Well,
Like everybody grew up in different. But
Right,
here in
right,
Hawaii
right.
Especially everybody, it's not a big thing here at all. But in the mainland,
yeah.
you
People
know,
get shot up outside of school. You know, we fight.
yeah,
you
you
know, you
fight.
fight.
It's always up and
Scrap
up.
them
bro.
out, you know what I
Use
mean?
your-
Like-
use your fist up and up. You guys hug after.
Right.
All right, bro. You guys got me.
This
You
is
know
not
what?
even like a 1940s idea.
No.
1996, I'm in high school,
Yeah.
and there's like, you know, everybody had their own crew, and there'd be like
Yeah.
whirlwinds. It's like Tasmanian devils just throwing fists, and you know, just like the whole front of the school breaking out in fist fights,
Yeah.
but no one's getting shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's, I mean, so it's not even like this a 1940s idea where it's gonna be like, oh, back in our day we used to just, you know, go outside, okay. No, this is like, you know,
Yeah.
people. I think it's also like it's a I think it's a psychological issues. You're gonna take away this tool that somebody's gonna use, even though they're fucking whacked. They're gonna have another tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, one thing I posed to you guys, what I hear on the other side too of the argument is, well, there was recently there was a mass stabbing that occurred at one of the schools. I think it was 15 to 18 kids got stabbed,
Mhm.
but nobody got killed. So what do you kind of say to that?
I know, right?
In your
I mean,
guys' stance.
What do you say? Oh, that was better. You know, that's a tough one, right?
That's a tough one.
And I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is the solution? You know, you can't. Knives are not going anywhere either.
Right.
You know, hell, I got to cut my damn chicken at home. You know what I mean?
Grab some scissors.
And
I'm
that's
saying,
even
like-
more accessible than freaking
Exactly.
guns.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, it is a surprising dynamic where the kids are getting shot up at school with guns, right?
Yeah.
Where knives are more accessible, but the knives are more, the guns are more visible or more damaging, right? So of course you get the psychological nutcases that do need help, like you said, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're getting the guns somehow, and you know, lock up your damn guns, right?
Yeah.
And
So-
I get it. That's so irresponsible of a parent or a caretaker. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There may be some different cultural dynamics as well,
Yeah,
though, because
yeah.
I grew up in the South, Southern Louisiana, you know,
Right.
and there are guns everywhere.
Exactly.
And
And you start young.
you start young. I
With
had
that-
my
with that
first
gun
shotgun
safety,
at
yeah.
10 years old,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I did the safety class and all that. Not that that had much of an impact,
Yeah.
right? But it was common sense, you know? You don't point a gun at somebody and shoot, you know? You don't pull the
Yeah.
trigger. It's just something there that you understand. And maybe growing around it, as much as I did, made more of a difference, you
Right.
know? Maybe when you see pickup trucks everywhere with guns in their back window, you know,
It's not a thing, right? It's not.
it's not a thing.
Right. Right.
Do you,
100%.
I lost my train of thought. I had something good.
It's all right, man. Like, man, I'll be straight with you, man. Like, I really think this is, and I don't, like, everything that we're kind of touching on, like, you hear a lot too on, you know, this, that. I think there is definitely, like, agenda at play. I think a lot of people, and this is what I see a lot, man. I see with every great movement, there's somebody that wants to go in and fucking hijack that shit for their own fucking agenda. And I've seen I'm not even starting naming the movements, you know, because that even could get kind of racy and shit. But like, I've seen so many movements that look pure and good and like to uplift and for people and bring them bring their issues known, and then I seen it hijacked and polluted with all this bullshit that you could see it's going to this agenda for this
Yeah.
this fucker's you know political you know agenda or whatever. It gets polluted. It seems like it gets infiltrated by these fuckers that ruin it. Like, you know, for instance with the guns, it's not about taking our guns away. That's not. I don't think that's the pure you know agenda. I think the pure agenda is like, hey, let's make it like harder for fuckos to get it. You know what I mean? Like this kid legally got the gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His parents knew the kid was whacked.
Yeah.
Or his he was not adopted but
Foster parents.
thank you, fostered. Like they knew he was whacked. You know, and they're trying to say, well, the cops didn't do anything to our complaints, and our complaints were legitimate and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but people are using it for their agenda
Yeah.
to say and then try to scare the other side, saying you're taking my gun, you're taking my gun. No,
Yeah.
you know, I just think people are just fucking. They are confusing and dividing us. I think this is a constant division of us, and I think the people that are marching and doing those things are doing it with the purity of like they really want to better their kid's life. They're not going after, well, Jordan, I'm taking your fucking guns. No,
Yeah.
you know, they want to, and I think it's getting hijacked with these fuckers we see on stage.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And it's kind of sad because it kind of muddles the whole entire intention of the movement. It really just confuses the whole thing, and then people on the far left or right,
Yep.
they just blow up, and then everything in the middle, everybody in between, doesn't get heard. They're the loudest ones on either side.
Right.
And they're the ones infiltrating, and it's just really sad, but I think it's really a mental health issue.
I think that's huge in the way you brought up.
You know, that is a huge, yeah, it starts at home. It really starts at home.
Right.
And another thing too is, with all the political correctness going on, you can't, or the, you know, gender pronouns, or whatever the topic is, people are afraid to communicate anymore. They don't want to communicate.
Or they can't even take the communication.
Or they can't even take
They're
it.
so offended by it. You said a word that you know, fucking puts sand under vajayjay, you know what I'm saying? And it's like all of a sudden everything you say is null and void because you said, you know, Apple fucking Jacks. And Apple Jacks offends the fuck out of me or whatever it is. Like, yo, so you said Apple Jacks. What's the point of what we're talking about? If you just want to talk shit, bounce.
Yeah.
You know, but if you want to get somewhere, let's go. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And that's like...
We don't have those civil debates anymore where people don't get hurt feelings. It's okay to be passionate about what you stand for. It's okay to tell somebody else that, oh, you know what, can you call me this? My name is this, or whatever. It's okay, but it shouldn't be an act of violence or hate speech or anything like that. You don't know, and even if it is, it's like it's not an aggression. You're not aggressing against that person.
Right.
It's just. And people are scared to talk anymore, so that's how these kids, I think, get into schools with the guns. They're not going to point out, oh, dude, this kid's weird, and tell the principal or tell the teacher, because they're afraid that by saying that, you're pointing that person out, singling them out, and now you're going to get in trouble for being this, that, or the other.
Yeah, because no matter what you say nowadays, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a this, and
Nazi,
you're a that.
They're putting fucking walls.
Jesus Christ, man, you can't talk to anybody, you can't have fun anymore. You know, I'm glad to say that at my working place, we can say a lot of the so-called racy shit, you know. But it's your friends, and it's an understanding that you have in the military. There's no problem with that, right? I mean,
sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
So I mean, we have a lot of training on like how. With the times, you know, things change, and you gotta treat each other, and
gotta adapt.
You know, and there are people that you have to talk a certain way to. But with my friends, you know, I'm like, hey, fuck you, and hey, fuck you too. Like, hey, you know, that's a term of endearment. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's a time and place. We're not going to be doing that shit like, you know, in a public environment. You know, it's just like I'm talking to you right now. You know, like there's certain people that you know you can talk to a certain way, and like you're saying, your work environment is not taken like, oh, that guy's a bigot because he said this or whatever it is. It's just kind of like, I think it's how it's supposed to be, like socially, you know what I'm saying? Like just, you talk freely, and it's okay to get offended, by the way.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's I'm not saying that you should offend somebody, but if you are offended, if I offend you with Apple Jacks, let me know it offends you. Okay, we'll move on past that. Not fuck you, Apple Jacks. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Because there's like a mutual respect.
And I think that's a lot of the stuff that we lost is that mutual respect between one another. And I think a big part of it is we're not communicating.
Forgetting how to treat each other.
We're forgetting how to treat each other.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that it's come to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it reminds me of the Me Too movement with all the women, you know, which, not to get too much into that, we can come back to that, you know, but, you know, it's when you can say whatever you want, and not to discredit any of the women that's saying this or that, right? It's just that where's the due process? That's what I don't understand, where anybody can say, this guy did that, or this girl did that, and people are just instantly taking action on it, you know. And
like they're already guilty without being...
Already guilty, you know.
I know what you're saying.
Private companies, or they make moves real fast, and that's their right to do it, you know, but at some level there's got to be an investigation, there's got to be due process, even if it's not government-based sort of due process, right? I mean, let's talk about these things, and let's not blow everything out of control now. If there are guys that's doing some dumb shit, right, take care of them, get rid of them, you know what I mean? But it just goes back to those conversations and the way society is today. It's like, you can't just talk, you know? I think something I've heard a lot recently, especially about the Me Too movement, is, you know, guys can't talk to girls today the way they used to, you know, 20, 40, 50 years ago. And of course it was way more raunchy back then, but it's relative, right?
It's relative to the argument, for sure, yeah.
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 Yeah, there's some things that will definitely not be accepted today, and how you address somebody, even like how you even treat them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And for good reason, right? Like,
right, yeah, a lot of it's good and a lot of it's kind of like, you know, I open a door for a woman, a guy, whoever it is, I'm being polite, you know. And my dad, he's 89, and he taught me the old school way, you know, you never hit a woman, you know, just everything you should know today, you know, you open door for a lady, you know, you always be respectful.
Yep.
But like some people see that as kind of like, oh, I can open door myself.
Yeah.
All right, you know, it's
I'll just try and be nice.
just being nice,
Yeah.
you know, so I get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe going back to the whole guns thing real fast, you know, you mentioned you got guys on both sides of the aisle, so to speak.
Yeah.
Glenn Beck is one of those guys, super far right. I don't know if you're familiar with him or whatever, but Glenn Beck says things specifically relating to this argument that the Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms, right? And the way he interprets that, because he would be called basically a constitutionalist, right? He enforced laws as it was written in the Constitution 200 and whatever years ago, right? A long time ago.
Yeah. Yep.
And so obviously things are a lot different today. But he says, regarding the mental health argument, he says, no, we shouldn't be doing background checks. We shouldn't be doing anything. If somebody wants a gun, give them a gun. It's our right to do
That
that.
guy lost his fucking mind.
It's absurd.
Yeah, that's
You know?
too far.
Yeah.
That's very literal.
That's why we have amendments to like adjust it for our times. You know what I'm saying? That's why we amend the Constitution for those situations. So that what that dude's saying, come on now, that's you know what I mean,
that's
like
one area that hasn't been amended. I mean, it's the second.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
Not
Well,
really,
it is
yeah.
the second.
does that kind of like work into like HIPAA and stuff like that, like where your medical information is your business? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's against a lot of like for me to disclose if I'm a doctor your information to whoever. You know, I'm sure
Whether
there's
it's family or not. Right.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe that's might be where it's headed, but even then, like no, like I did background checks when I got my guns. You know what I mean? Like they went through whatever systems, you know, and I don't. This is wrong. I'm thinking maybe that's coming from too. Is also like maybe they don't go into the medical records. You know what I mean? To say this guy has like psychological issues because that maybe it has to do with HIPAA. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if that's, but it needs to be done. Especially like this kid, you know, he was gone. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people are gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying people can't act a certain way, like that they're okay and you know they get their gun and all that stuff. But like if this kid has had a history in like medical facilities or whatever, like that definitely should be available.
It needs to be known, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe certain types of medical histories needs to go into a particular database, like a gun database or, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But for Glenn Beck, who is about the farthest right you can get, to say something like that, I think is just absolutely absurd because most gun owners, most responsible, I would say all responsible gun owners are probably don't have problems with background checks, you know?
Yeah.
Because the ultimate purpose is to keep the guns out of the hands of the bad people.
Yeah.
Also, the problem is you have crime, right? Criminals don't follow laws.
They're criminals by definition because they don't follow the law.
Exactly. So when you look at the other side of the spectrum, which you could call the far left liberal side, right? Not that liberal is a bad thing, but people like maybe Nancy Pelosi, from representative from California, is basically advocating to get rid of all guns like Australia did, you know? I think there's a picture circulating on the internet where Australia gathered all the guns.
And they ran it over or some shit.
Now everybody's dying from knives in Australia.
Right,
you know,
right,
it's crazy.
So because you got two extremes, and it seems like once you have like somebody with a legitimate movement, like maybe you know a lot of these like the mothers, you know, movements against weapons, like maybe they just want, hey, you can't have. They say an assault style rifle, man. I could make a fucking bolt action rifle, an assault rifle, if I fucking assault you with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they look at it looks like a scary gun, so they're like, oh, like not this one with high capacity and it's easy to da 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 da. I know what they're saying. I know what, you know, they have a picture of a monster, what it looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think what they're trying to do is just regulate something that looks scary but not really understanding. Besides, it does, you know, semi-auto, one at a time, every pull of the trigger. That's pretty much every rifle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With the exception of like bolt action, where you got to do this action, you know, or a one-shot musket. So like they might just be trying to like keep guns what they think are the, you know, prime suspects of these murders, which is the people that are doing these crimes. Yes, automatic weapons are already illegal. You know, some states have like where you can have a tax stamp, which takes a lot. You can have like a machine gun. This thing's like $10,000 plus. You know what I mean? Like, but like, I think there's a genuine like sincerity of like taking away the capability for, you know, these people that can buy guns to buy a gun where they think it's more scary, like a fucking, where there's miniguns like, you know, like Predator and shit, like terrorists on the force. But it's really not the reality. Like my pistol, I can shoot it fast as fuck. I'm not gonna be very accurate with it, but you know, it's gonna seem like it's called rapid fire. It's not because it's automatic. It's because I'm just pulling the trigger many times. So I mean, if that's the reality, that's the dynamic of it. You know, you're going after the wrong monster. It's not these. AR doesn't even stand for assault rifle. It's armor light rifle. They're the ones who invented that style rifle. You know, for NAM. For NAM. Because the Russians.
Assuming AR is auto.
Right. So
which has been banned for like 70
this
years.
is the pollution and the corruption, because they'll jump on that and run with it. It's like, dude, you guys sound like fucking idiots. You don't understand even like what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I think like, again, these are like legitimate, like good, healthy movements that these moms, they really concerned. Not just have these moms, families that are really concerned about like this stuff, and like some jackass comes along and like corrupts them, saying, "Yeah, no, you need to go after these rifles." No, motherfucker, you need to go after like people that can get access to like you can make an electronic gun. You know what I'm saying? Get an electronic motor, some fucking BBs and shit. I mean, that's gonna be the next thing. If you know you're gonna take that away, someone's gonna find another way to shoot. Sorry, I go.
No.
You guys got me. I drank that fucking energy drink, bro. So I'm more like.
So the Las Vegas shooter, I think, had bump stocks. Was he the one that had the bump stocks?
Right. So he had.
I mean, I don't know much about him. Maybe you can inform us on it. But I mean, what are your thoughts in general about bump stocks?
So bump stocks are the actual like stock that they're talking about. Is fairly new. They've had always just like way around like these laws to. When in the 80s they took pretty much like the access to automatic weapons away. So they have like different cool inventions. Are cool to me because mechanic, you know what I'm saying? What? Just the function of it, where they had like a winding wheel, like on those like Jack in the Boxes that goes around the trigger, and every time you wind it, it goes. That's a type of like simulated automatic fire that was legal, that you could just clip onto your thing. Bump stocks, so the way it works is kind of like it finds that sweet spot in the trigger. So it's a semi-automatic weapon. You can put this bump stock on it, and it'll just kind of hit that sweet spot, and it'll kind of it's like springy, you know what I'm saying? So it simulates fire. It's not accurate at all. I'm sure like anything in life you can get really accurate with it, but I don't think that's really the problem. It's fairly new. You can take away bump stocks. It's not gonna hurt nothing. Just take those fuckers away all day long. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really not gonna, and I don't think it's the problem either. You know, does it make it easier to fire multiple rounds to simulate automatic fire? Sure, it does. You know what I'm saying? But like you're not accurate at all with it. But you don't have to be to kill people also.
Yeah, and the crazy person, the problem is the crazy person behind the gun, right? So, and from what I understand, you don't even need a bump stock to simulate a bump stock or
you can hold it a certain way with a rifle to get that sweet spot.
Right.
But essentially it just bumps it. Pop, pop, pop,
or you're
pop,
sort of using the recoil.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You use the recoil.
That's what the
automatic.
right. But like even then, that's kind of a tricky thing, and it's not accurate. You know, you can have a kind of a problem with your trigger too. Like one of the my pre-deployment trainings, like I was like shooting 2 rounds at once. And it's because I was shooting so much that day that my grip got all fucked up on it. I was not accurate hitting my target right. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's like you're saying, there's a way to simulate it. But even then, like you're far accurate. And the counter argument to that is like you don't need to be accurate to kill somebody. All it takes is a straight bullet. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And did you see the video they just let out for the Las Vegas shooter?
No.
It's out, man. They let some video out showing how he got all the the weapons in. You know, they show him like this timeline of like 3 or 4 days where he's bringing in these bags. He goes back home.
Gets more.
He plays in the casino all night. He keeps bringing in these. So, but you know me. I'm always suspect of what people feed me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that shit. I was like, well, that makes sense, yeah. You know, he's alerts many times. He's right. But like, how many times? I haven't really done. I saw the video, but I started thinking counter. I'm like, what if that's just a lot of cut and pastes from like, because the guy frequented that place a lot.
Yeah.
So they could just pick up video.
Last 20 years.
Yeah, and just kind of like, oh, this day he brought in this bag, this day he brought in the next bag. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always suspect. I'm just like, well, people try to feed me. But so like, anyhow, that video came out where they showed it, and it sells. Like, it's like, yeah, man, that guy fucking 13 fucking bags of luggage. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't. And every time the bellman, you know, he was taking it up. You know, he gets good tips.
It's amazing because I don't know who the concert was. I think it was a country music star, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
My wife's cousin, who I consider my cousin, love her to death,
Right.
lives in Vegas, and I forget the exact story, but they were going to the concert. Now I understand there were thousands of people that were there, but just the thought of, wow, that could have been someone in my family there, it kind of brings it back home,
Yeah.
I was watching, after that Florida shooting, I forgot the name of the school, Marco Rubio, a Republican senator from Florida, did a town hall, a CNN town hall, where he had to face the parents of these kids, and it was really tough watching it. And, what do you tell the parent? So we can sit here and we say, we can't take the guns away because it's the crazy person, right?
Right.
But when you're looking down the face of that parent who just lost their child, what do you tell them?
If I was that parent, I'd want all the guns gone.
Right.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's nothing that you're going to tell me, and we're actually having a discussion, so I'm not going to try to, goddamn tangents.
You're good.
We have a discussion about this too, where, someone can try, if I feel a certain way about something, there's someone can tell me whatever the fuck they want, especially when it comes to my kid, and I believe what I'm doing here, I'm going to tap and shit, what I'm doing here is keeping him safe, even if I'm a fucking asshole to everybody else around me that keeps my son safe.
Yeah.
I'm this dominant, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I totally get that. Like, take away all the guns. My fucking child died because of these motherfuckers. I want to blame somebody. I'm passionate about it. Totally. I 100% see what you're saying, even though I don't believe in taking away the guns.
Right. And I actually give Marco Rubio a ton of credit.
Hell yeah.
Because he sat there and he stood his ground.
Yeah.
What he believed, which was the solution is not to take away the guns.
Right.
Number one, because it's just not going to happen. You
Right.
know, that it's a fantasy world to believe that guns are going to be gone. And there's some arguments that this is the whole reason that the Second Amendment exists, is for the defense, militia-style defense of the country, right? The people of the United States of America to defend themselves from an overly powerful government.
Right. Exactly.
The guns aren't going anywhere, and then that guy stood up there and he faced down those parents. It was unbelievable. And I don't think it was fair to him that he got through in that situation because, if you know anything about politics, CNN is sort of on one side of the spectrum, Marco Rubio is on the other, and it was basically a setup for the guy.
He got crucified. Tried to crucify.
To make him look bad.
Yeah, but like you're saying, and I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know Marco Rubio. He might be the messiah. All I know as far as personal, but I haven't really been a big fan of the guy. Whatever. I kind of see all politicians with the jaded. But I had a huge amount of respect that he was just sitting there taking it and facing him. Even if they had a stake in his butthole, making him be there, still
Crazy.
And he, like you said, he held his ground. Even things that he admits it. Yeah, I take money if they're on board with which direction I want to take this state or whatever it is. I am going to take the help. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean I'm going to follow whatever their agenda is necessarily. So he kind of even faced those kind of tricky things that most politicians will not. Man up to or what have you, or person up to.
Yeah.
But
I mean, whether right or wrong in that situation, he still stood his ground of what his beliefs
are.
But I am a firm believer of probably getting all money out of politics.
There's a movement for that now.
There definitely is. I mean, I don't mind. It's up in the air. I can see where it benefits the politician, but when these corporations come in and they can spend however much money, on these politicians, there's some backdoor closet circle jerk going on that allows these corporations to get what they want from these politicians while in office, and it doesn't help the normal individual.
I don't know.
And it's really sad. So if they did get, I'm just kind of curious what the world would look like in America if all money was out of politics, and you ran just on not as a career politician, right? I think career politicians is bullshit. You can be a politician, but I think you need to be able to, first of all, have terms, and just do it, and do it as kind of like a civil duty. I'm here helping my state,
Right.
and then you go back to your normal job.
Yeah, you know, that's so interesting that you say that, because that was the original intent, that was the original design of the founders of the United States of America, was
Civil duty.
Civil duty, right? And all politicians had a regular job on the side, and you don't see that anymore.
Nope.
And I'm fully on board with you, where this, you know, especially in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
You see the same circle of people running the show, and they take turns at different offices. And where do you end up? You got a state, a beautiful state,
Right.
but the state is it's under this sort of false facade where we're in a ton of debt right now, and we're actually not in that great of a shape, you know.
No, infrastructure also too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's run by one party, which the party is Democratic, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
If Republicans ran the state, it would be just as bad.
It would just be a
Right.
different kind of bad.
Different kind of bad, you know.
Same, two sides of the same coin.
Exactly, and that's why you need the balance in politics, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see some balance come back to Hawaii.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I'm thinking about what you're saying too, and without, so we have a capitalist, you know, nation, right? So I'm trying to envision that, you know, like, how would that even work? I do agree, like, all that shit's like polluting everything, you know, and I'm selling you that, yeah, I'm after this, but I'm really selling these guys who are giving me the money that I'm after that, you know what I'm saying? So, like, not that it's not feasible, I'm just kind of thinking, like, how the fuck would that work? You know what I'm saying? It's how it's supposed to work, you know what I'm saying? But, like, how could we attain that? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm not, like, saying, like...
No, I hear
I'm not
you.
saying it's, like, fucking Fantasyland. My problem is I can't see it, you know?
Well, this is why you got guys like Bernie Sanders, who's supremely popular nowadays. He was a Democratic candidate, and I mean, he's not popular in my book, I guess, you know, but I understand why he's popular, because he's out there touting for everything to be free. And what a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people don't make the connection that this free money is actually people's money, right? It's my money.
It's
what
not
I
free
work
money.
hard
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
Exactly, right? And so they're out there talking about free homes for people, free college, which is crazy, which, you know, I may agree with some of that to a very small extent, right? But the way politics works today is that you take something and you just make it this expansive government program, you know? I'm all for people who are in, let's say, certain situations, right? Downtrodden, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Not best, not in some geographical locations are basically sort of, not bad areas, but known to not have very well educated people, okay? It's facts, whatever.
Opportunities, right.
Right.
Yep.
Give them opportunities, you know? Send them to a technical school, which is not very expensive, you know?
Yep.
And I'm a fan of capitalism because everybody has a chance, but capitalism leaves some people out. That's why you see homeless all over the streets, right? So the homeless has a chance to get a job and start a business and this and that, right? And you have people who say, well, they can get a job. I was talking to some guy, I said, yeah, I was in downtown, there was a bunch of homeless people, and this guy was like, well, he can get a damn job. You know what? It's not always that damn easy.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Especially if
You
you're
know?
a felon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's I'm not trying to, like,
No.
but, like, think about how many people are, like, incarcerated.
Yeah.
A shitload. And then once you're labeled a felon for whatever fuck-ups you did or whatever it is, all of a sudden, how the fuck are you going to get a job now? Because people don't want to hire you.
Even if it's for, like, a non-violent crime.
Right.
Which, there's a lot of people in jail for non-violent crimes.
Right.
And, like, they get caught with a dime bag of weed, whatever. They get thrown in jail into a violent situation where it changes them mentally.
Exactly.
And when they're released back on society, they can't get a job, they can't do that. They're going to go back to whatever they learned in jail or whatever monster that
You're
we've
stuck in
created.
that system.
Right. I should say convict, because conviction, I'm sorry, not, but felon's a type of conviction, but basically,
Well, I mean, you do have felons from small amounts of weed, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I do give Obama some credit for that. You know, he tried to change
break
that
up
system.
that.
Yeah. Plus, it clogs up our freaking court system. You know, you got guys in there for pot bags. I don't know why America today is. What the hell are we waiting for? You know, you got people out there drunk driving. You can drink all night, and wherever the hell you are, you can kill somebody. But then this guy smoking pot over here.
He gets more time.
It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's set up. It's a setup, man. It's all a fucking setup. Like, I don't miss conspiracy over here, but like seriously, like it's fucking set up that way, man. But now they're seeing the light because they look at California, and they're like, oh, our state's got mega bucks. You know what I'm saying? And then Colorado, mega bucks. So like all those fuckers that are like got everybody else in their back pocket, they're like, wait a second here, the green is where the green's at. So they're in that. Colorado's doing wonderful things for the state. You know what I'm saying? California's doing great things for their state with this extra funding in a country that's like trillions of dollars in debt, which we're going more into, And back to with the jail and all this shit, man, it's set up that way, and it goes back to those areas. It is set up that way. You know what I mean? I say that because I don't know 100%, but perception is everything, and the way that I'm seeing things, it's the opportunity is not there. You know what I mean? And it should be invested. And that's a big talk with Bernie that talks that way about free shit. And there's elements, like you're saying, that I agree with. But even Bernie's got fucking shit in his pockets, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's 100%. So it's like they need to stop selling this fucking facade and fucking, like, action. Okay, action. Do it.
Yep.
Stop talking this shit. You know what I mean? Like.
And Hawaii kind of follows California, too. So.
But we're a little behind on the pot, though.
We're behind on the pot, but we do follow California, so it's coming. It's been in the state sessions for the last few years.
Well, they've had medical marijuana legal for like 10 years, something like that now. It's been a while.
Right.
So, but I don't know if they'll go recreation like California and like Colorado went, and some other states for a while, just because there's so much pushback from our local politicians right now. That kind of do what they want, like with the rail and stuff like that. That's great.
Oh God, the rail.
Is
it just me?
$10 billion, 3 times more.
And we're pushing like 13 billion now. It's crazy. Like every year, it's like another $1 or $2 billion. In a state with 1.4 million people. Yeah. And this guy Clayton who's running for the state governor. Yeah. I don't know much about the guy. Generally, I don't like Hawaii politicians because they all have the same line of thinking or whatever. But this guy is out there now actually saying that we knew this the whole time. The rail is a state issue. It's not a county issue, right? Yep. And it is the most unbelievable thing to expect that for a county to build this, where, okay, there's 1 million people here. Yeah. This is going to bleed into the whole state, right, for a product that's only going to serve not even the whole 1 million people in the county, but only, maybe half of the people in the county. Yeah. It's absurd.
And it's not going all the way. It's like, it's going up to like $5 million a mile or some shit like that. Like, it's crazy, maybe even more. It's nuts.
Yeah. The way I kind of see that, too, is like, we're at a point, I say we, Hawaii. Yeah. I'm leaving. But Hawaii's at a point where it's like the point of no return. Like, they got this motherfucker built as far as like, it's costing more, just hemorrhaging money. They got no choice but to. And I was wondering about the super ferry. You guys remember the super ferry?
Yeah, it got shut down quick.
It got shut down because they didn't do their fucking environmental thing. But like, in addition, I think they're going to try to do that shit again. You know what I'm saying?
I hope they do. I hope they get it.
But they do their environmental impact survey before they even. But it's like, that shit has been like, I don't know. They were even talking about that shit when I was here last time in 2006. The light rail, the rail system. Yep. Yeah, it's like it seems like it's like a fucking tumor on the island.
It is, and the super ferry was a disaster. With Linda Lingle in office at the time, and I don't know why she avoided that whole environmental impact survey. That took it down the wrong road. Yeah. With the legal concerns and environmental concerns and stuff. Do the impact survey, and I'm sure it would have been fine. Yeah. Because now what happened is you had a bunch of people saying, hey, you didn't do this survey, and so now they can exaggerate the environmental effects Which, you know, from what I understood, the boat was going around all the wells and stuff. I'm like, you know, it was running in the wells and dumping oil into the ocean.
Right.
They were worried that with the knots amount of speed
Oh, yeah,
they're going,
it's
that
fast.
it was just going to hit. They wouldn't have time to avoid.
It's a genuine concern though, because like Hawaii
it's
is,
valid.
it's like so fruitful with like sea life in the whales, and you know that's huge, and it's a legitimate thing, and it's opinion, my personal my thoughts on like the reason why they might have bypassed it was because that money. You know what I'm saying? Because like, hey, you know what? This is possibly risky. Maybe if we just put it out there and have it going, and people see how convenient it is, you know,
like,
they're not going to give a fuck about their environment. Because it seems like as Earthlings, it seems like Earthlings, we don't give a fuck about our environment. We talk about it, man, but we're still using oil cars and all kinds of shit, man. I gotta talk to you about that shit later. Or maybe now, who knows? But yeah, the Super Ferry fucking, it had a genuine environmental.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Is that we live in 2018 right now, and Super Ferry was here, what, about 6 years ago?
2006, yeah.
7 years ago.
Almost, yeah.
We have submarines with no windows, right, that drive around the world under the water without running into shit, you know what I mean? I don't know if the Super Ferry had sonar systems.
They could have an avoidance system for sure.
Right. You know,
they have radar, which will pick them up if they use the right kind of radar. They can definitely. There's a way to do it.
There's multiple ways of technology to do it. You know, so I mean, honestly, you can overcome any argument as to why things should or shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just a disaster politically, more or less. You know, and then when you got surface in the water blocking it, and you got these pictures going worldwide, how do you continue with the project like that? You know, where now you have the sympathy of the whole world, like. Oh, this big boat's running over whales and stuff when it actually never happened.
Never did.
It never happened, but you get the people in Kauai that are just out there screaming about Super Ferry.
But
just shut it down.
Yeah, well,
and they work.
And it's a genuine concern. You know what I mean? Like it was even though it didn't happen, it was a huge concern, and I don't look like these people. I think they did it the right thing. For what they understood of this ferry and what possibly they might have done at some point, they're not going to report that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it could have been a genuine concern, but there is a way, like you're saying, to like get around all that shit.
Yeah.
100%. You know what I mean? It's just I think it would cost more money, and they didn't want to do it. But now, if they wanted to do it, like you were saying, like, I think a way around it is like putting out a census saying what would we need to do to be able to bring this back. People. Okay, it was the people that went out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People, what are your concerns? How can we address those concerns? You know what I'm saying? Do you want environmental what more than that? What else? You want somebody standing on the bow? Yep. You know what I'm saying? Fucking with Google goggles on and shit, make sure seriously, you know what I mean? Like I think that'll be a way back because you got to get back to the people. You know what I'm saying? Because it was very convenient also as well. It was very convenient, and there is ways to
well, like my auntie, she took advantage of it. She was able to drive her car on and get off on the other island. It was cool. You could do that. You don't have to rent a car.
Boom.
You don't have to know air.
The rental car people were pissed at that shit too.
They were probably the ones out there too.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
For sure, and the airlines too.
Yeah.
Because it shut them all down.
True.
But at the same time, like you were talking about, give it back to the people. I think one person that's doing that, who is democratic, is Tulsi Gabbard. I love that girl. She's awesome. That politician is fantastic, and she was like the first one to report when we had our missile crisis. She was like,
she was the
false.
first one.
Yeah.
She was out there, like, because as soon as she got it, the fuckheads over at, the company that sent out the warning, the State Department.
Right.
As soon as she got word. Although, then again, I've heard some things.
I've heard some conspiracy stuff.
We won't get into that. No, but that was an intense time, and because we were sitting here, and it was funny about that is I told Alika about 2 months before that happened, I was preparing him because I want to prepare him if I'm gone, if anybody else is gone, and he has to survive by himself. For whatever reason, God hope that doesn't happen.
Right.
If he does, I want him to be able to survive on his own in whatever situation. So I was teaching him about nuclear fallout, how long it lasts. If there is a nuclear blast that goes off, what happens? How, like, when can you go outside? When can you start eating the food? Can you eat the food? How
Giving
to,
him an idea, yeah.
I was giving him the whole night.
Wow, now that's some
Heavy.
real talk,
Right?
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
that thing was nuts. And he was calm, collected, clear-headed about it, was asking the right questions, which was just like, man, he's just like a little man. He's a little man child.
Little man,
He's so mature for his age.
Yeah.
I love that about him.
Yeah.
And I could just sit there and have a conversation with him, an adult conversation that, you know, because if you don't talk to your kids, going back to the guns, if you don't teach your kids or involve them in a situation about safety or about, you know, responsible gun ownership or handling of any kind of weapon, really, when they're exposed to it, they freak out.
Or don't know how to act.
Or don't know how to act, right?
But even then, even with the preparation, but at least they had something.
They have some kind of reference that they can go back to. Okay, well, my dad told me, you know, 3 weeks. You know, you can come out of the shelter. You know, this, that, it depends on where the fallout is.
Right, obviously.
Right, obviously, and all that. But it was just so crazy that happened 2 months, or that happened 2 months after I told him. And this whole nuclear missile incoming, a ballistic missile.
Bro.
This is not a test. I got that on my phone. I was like,
Bro.
fuck, well, here we go. And I started preparing. I got iodine tablets so I can flush, you know, flush everything out. I was just, it was crazy.
That crazy is the word for it, man. And, you know, nobody was prepared for that.
Nobody. And even our shelters aren't even, like, up to par, like how they're supposed to.
I don't want to cut you off, but I had a friend, like, so we have this arrangement. We have a place that we found, right? And you had to get there within, we said 12 minutes, 13 minutes, right? Yeah. So in the perfect condition, you might be able to make it, right?
Yeah.
So this dude calls me. And because I slept through this shit, right? I was all night playing Assassin's motherfucking Creed. Okay, I was like, in Egypt, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I love that game. But anyhow, and I that one time I decided, because it was a Friday night, whatever, Saturday happened, I think. So I stayed up all night playing that shit, you know, and I get a call, and I'm like, what? You know, it was the third time he called me. And I'm like, what happened? What's up, man? He's like, hey, where you at? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, I'm waking up, I'm in bed, that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? He's like, bro, fucking, you didn't see the missile alert? And then I saw it on my phone as we talked, and I was like, oh, I'm fucking dead. I should be dead already, man. Hey, I was like, do a mural for me on the wall, you know, say something that I would say, you know, for the, you know. But then I realized, like, at first, I'm joking around about it, but then, like, I got up, and I was like, hey, I told my wife, I was like, hey, man, you see that shit? Like, and then I was like, man, I felt like such a piece of shit. I felt like I done fucking destroyed my family because I was up all night playing motherfucking video games, and because my phone had the alert, I just slept right through it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then it really hit me. Yeah. You know, like, all jokes aside, that, like, that's heavy, man, because what if that was real? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, should I just, like, sit on the knife? Because the reality is I'll probably just fucking die.
But it was real, man.
But that's what...
When you're in it, it was real. Yep. You know?
People were putting their kids down in the sewers.
Storm drains, yeah. That was actually really smart.
Man. Yeah. Worldwide news. Yeah. I was sitting in the Starbucks line with my wife. I was dropping my wife off to work. And it was the funniest thing. You know, there was kind of a disconnect with some of the news media out there where they were showing the people that reacted the most, if you want to call it that, the people that were running around. I don't know where those videos were that the news was showing all over the world. And they showed the lady putting her baby down the drain and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Where I was in more in Eva Beach, right down the road here, right, more of a suburban Honolulu area. Yeah. And we were in the Starbucks line, and I get this message on my phone, and then like 2 seconds later, my wife gets it, and I'm like, huh, there's a nuclear missile coming to Hawaii right now. And my kids are at home, and I looked at my wife, I was like, I don't know what to do right now.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and that shit hit hard, man. I was like, wow. But then, you know,
because you're going to be separated from your family, especially during a time like that.
Yeah, 10, 12 minutes. Like, what am I going to do, you know?
Right. Get back home?
I called my kids, say, hey, you know, I didn't even know what to tell them.
How you going to, yeah.
They saw it on the TV, right? Yeah. And there's a nuclear missile coming or whatever. I asked, what do you see on the TV? They said, yeah, something about a missile, whatever, you know. I didn't want to get them panicked. So I said, okay, just, you know, we live in a condo, and there's no protection in our condo building. The only protection is for them to go in the hallway, right, away from the windows and stuff. Yeah. And even that's like, what, you know? And so I told them, I said, okay, leave the TV on, go in the hallway, just stay there until we call you. You know, we didn't know what else do I tell them.
Right.
They may never get a call from me again. You know, that's how serious this shit was.
Heavy, bro.
And that's why Ige needs to get the hell out of office. You know, it wasn't directly his fault, but his response to this alert was unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
He is such an idiot, you know, and I will not step that back. You know, some people are just idiots, and Ige for this situation was an idiot for stringing people along when Tulsi Gabbard, like you said, came on like about 10 minutes later and said she confirmed it right away. She knew who to talk to. She handled that shit.
And she's awesome.
Yeah, she did it just right, you know.
Right.
And that's ultimately who we found out through. We found out through the Maui news agency who got it from Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. And it's just really interesting when you really think about that. There was a lot of, they were stringing everybody along for weeks. I mean, I think even until now, until there was a federal investigation that came in, right? They came in and they were like, well, we're gonna do our investigation. It was almost completely different than what Ige was spitting on the TV for that first week. They were like, well, the story's different. So their report, and then like, oh yeah, well, this was that.
And homie thought it was actually a real situation. The motherfucker been there. No disrespect if the dude's listening, not a motherfucker. I'm just excited.
Yeah.
He really thought it was real.
Yeah.
Well, what are the chances someone who's been there for 10 years and they get a periodic training for this thinks it's real?
Yeah. That's what I think makes things a little
hard to swallow, man.
Hard to swallow and confusing when somebody is there. And if they had all these concerns, well, why was he still in a leadership position? Like, he really, really fucking thought there was coming. Like, regardless.
Yeah, the only thing I would question, because I'm not against the whole conspiracy thing, because it is weird, right, how everything went down. But the only thing I would mention is that this particular individual had several occurrences of similar situations.
Right.
He just had this history of messing shit up, you know? And, you know, okay, fine, you're whatever up there in the fucking brain or whatever, but whose responsibility is it to get his ass out of there?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So who does that fall on? And I don't think this was just Ige, right, for having the guy there. And again, ultimately, Ige doesn't hire that guy.
Right.
Because I don't know how long he was there, the guy that pushed the button, but I think he was, what, like 10 to 20 years?
A long time.
Like and this, multiple administrations, right? And he did it multiple times. There were multiple opportunities to get him out of there, right?
That's another weird part, too. It's like this guy's a habitual, it's like in the line of the movie, habitual line crosser. You know, like, why do you want him in charge of the button? It's like the alert button, at least, you know what I mean? Like, that's a great point. You know what I mean? Like, why isn't he in charge of, like, you know, recyclables and shit? Like, something, you know, like, he drops a can, that's as bad as it gets.
Well, that's another thing, too, is like, we've never gotten a message across our phones saying ballistic missile, this is not a test.
Right.
Never. Ever.
Right.
So even if he did fuck up in the past, he never fucked up like this.
Right.
This was new to everybody. So that's what feeds some of those, and I hate to call it conspiracy theory, we're just trying to get the facts straight.
Counter argument to this though, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So let's just say the guy was like, so now you're this, there's always somebody like this. They have that one like, quote unquote black sheep, you know, that always gets kind of picked on at work, you know, always gives shit to. What if he was that guy? Right? And then, like, they would make a big deal every time he does something. He's like, all right, fuck you, motherfuckers, all right? I've had enough of your shit. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like, ah! You know, counter argument, because people get that way.
Yeah.
You know? It's that workplace violence shit, but he didn't go violent with it. He just decided to take it out on the we'll call it command, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's more or less what happened at the Florida school shooting, not to go back into an old topic, you know.
No, it's not old, man.
The kid was bullied and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then that just takes it over the top. I imagine some of the co-workers for this guy at the state office where he pushed the button, they came public saying that they were telling people he should have been gone a long time ago. So there was obviously a lot of resentment there, you know,
right.
A lot of animosity.
Right.
So, and why didn't they listen to these people? I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of ifs, and I hate that shit. You know what I mean?
I just want facts, man.
Yeah, and
I just want facts.
And whatever tidbits and giblets and little, you know, I call them giblets, whatever we get, it's kind of like, it's enough for us to almost make this like educated or like logical like thing, like saying, hey, why'd you have him here for so long? Da 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 da. This guy thought it was real. It's another like tidbit we got. They would seem we could make a logical like excuse, but like, well, he thought it was real. Something was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's not. We got still all. It's surrounded by ifs. It's the same shit, you know, like
It's all ifs, bro.
divide and conquer, bro.
All ifs, and that's all we get. So we have to piece together this puzzle of this filtered data that we get.
And also, like the misinformation. Oh my fucking god!
Rampant. So,
Yeah.
We're not trying to add to it by having this type of conversation. We're just trying to get to the truth. We just want
ask the
facts.
questions. You know, it's so hard to believe that this guy was just that dumb, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. That's the state's narrative, more or less, right? In a nice ways that this guy shouldn't have been there. But for us normal people sitting here thinking about it, and this is why we have to ask these questions. Like, was this guy really that dumb, right? There's an argument that maybe not. And that's what you guys are saying, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't that fucking dumb.
I'm not necessarily like saying that it was dumb, but like at the same time, like it's kind of like, and even the simulation made it look like it was fucking real. You know what I mean? Because we have simulations like that too, where it's like, oh shit, you know. But yeah, it's just a lot of ifs. Like it's too.
It takes you back to like the Ender's Game book and the movie, which I'm a huge fan of. And he goes into space. They say it's a game, it's a simulation for him to prepare. They prepare all these kids for battle in the simulation, and they do all these test flights and anti-gravity, and they try to like blow up these planets, blow up the alien species. Come to find out, shit was real, and he flipped his shit because he's like, you told me it was just a game, it was a simulation. No, that's real.
Oh, and that's when they had this thing on them and shit, and they turned everybody else that looked a different. I'm thinking of a movie. Sorry.
You're thinking of a different movie.
That's I'm sorry. I apologize.
Ender's Game, man. You gotta watch it.
Okay.
Ender's Game.
Ender's Game, man.
With the kid was like, you know.
And he was in the military training. He became like
in space and shit or something.
Yeah.
That's like those types of movies I generally don't like. I just don't watch them.
Yeah.
Something about that movie, Ender's Game. That was a great freaking movie.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, he had his ass kicked in the bathroom, and then he ended up. Yeah, that was a good. You should check it out.
Dude, I read the book. My boy Chris Valia, our boy.
Holla holla.
Holla holla. He's supposed to be here today, but he said he's going to work.
You got priorities, man.
So so he got me into the book, and then I ended up reading it for a college class years and years ago, and I fell in love with the book. It's such a good. And then they came out with the movie. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. Usually they dumb down movies.
They don't compliment each other, right?
Dude, this is great. I loved it. There was not a lot of people that really enjoyed it. I was one that really fucking loved it.
That's great.
I can't wait for the next one, if they do actually continue the next one. But the whole message behind the movie and the book was there was a miscommunication between the alien species. They weren't trying to attack us. They weren't. But we saw them as a threat because we couldn't communicate.
Right.
And they were able to communicate telepathically with Ender and spoiler. And he ended up getting the last egg of this alien species, the queen, the baby, and he was going to find after the war, find a new home for the aliens to
hatch him.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to see that, but sorry to go tangent.
No, you're good.
No, that's perfect. So if you're watching and you're hearing like all this alien shit or whatever, like that's part of the movie, right? Yeah. But just the basis of the movie, the production quality was wonderful. It was a great movie, and the kid, the main character, Ender, Ender, he I guess the attention was on him because of his brain power, more or less, and the way he implemented different strategies for different things. And that's what attracted me to it. Like it's like, wow, I know he's an actor or whatever. I was like, this kid is fucking smart, bro.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. You can adapt to anything.
Yeah, but it's really a testament to like, even it can be applied, the moral of the story can be applied to how we see other countries and other people that are different than us. Our communication is not there, but I think communication is huge, and it needs to be huge, and we need to go back to a better communication with all people.
Yeah.
All people, because people are dying every day for crazy reasons that aren't even justified, and but people are scared of the unknown. That's really what it comes down to.
Do you know that we're Neanderthals, bro?
We're Neanderthals.
Did you know about that, bro?
You saw the date? It's been updated and all that shit with Graham Hancock?
Oh, no. I wasn't even talking about that. I wasn't even talking about that because I did some research. I was on this research tip, bro. Let me tell you something. So, because I did the ancestry shit, you know, and I'm kind of like, it's not telling me what I want to know. Not that.
Which one did you do? You did Ancestry DNA or did you do a different one?
Ancestry DNA. But I just ordered 23andMe because I saw my boys. He had it. And it was a little bit more elaborate and kind of like. And I was, and it talked about like how well, for the most part, like, there's like a mix with like Neanderthal and all this other stuff, but it had more information, right? Because I wanted to look at like what my genetic markers were. You know what I'm saying? Not like, okay, not just this area or that area. That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. You know, I am who I am today. You know what I'm saying? But it's cool to see like this is kind of like a heritage. But it seemed like 23andMe was more specific. You know what I'm saying? With certain things that I was interested in, and even markers that like suggest this, that, or what have you. Yeah. But I was doing some research about like white people and brown people, right? And then like how the idea was that like everything started in Africa, right? We've heard contrary stuff. Maybe it started here. Maybe it started.
Is another one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So and they migrated all around. You know what I'm saying? Sure, like okay, and then like but Neanderthals were still there. You know what I'm saying? So then like when the human beings mated with Neanderthals, because it's a different species. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're not humans. Yeah. You know that they say that was the creation of Caucasian or white people. You know, and I was like, oh fuck, man, that's where my anger comes from. But like it started to make sense, and I started like researching it more, and then they started breaking it. This I'll shoot you the link to this one cat, and it started like giving a good and then factual like data behind it. You know what I'm saying, with these different studies. Not just an opinion. And I was like, fuck, I could see you, man. I felt like Avatar, like I see you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, shit, and I started like looking at people, and I was like looking at people's faces. It's like, yo, either these fuckers like really got me good in the brain, or like that shit's for real, man. Like I was like, shit, I need to do that 23andMe because it starts hitting on that Neanderthal tip too. Yeah. It talks about it.
Was there anything in there that really surprised you? Like maybe got a little bit black in you or something like that?
Well, from the waist down, for sure, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks bigger because it's smaller, but like it's like on a tripod. But no, like we all do, because
that's the important point. Right?
Well, kind of, yes. You know what I'm saying? Like people want. That is a fantastic point because our blood's red. We're all like the same shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But this gives another element. You might want to look kind of back on how, like, there are these. Like, look, there's a huge amount of amnesia as far as human beings. Sure. Huge. Bro, like, it's like almost intentional. But, like, it seemed like it was intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there were these great civilizations that spread out from Africa. You know what I'm saying? And they went all over. Like, we think just like the Spaniards and the Portuguese. We know that the Polynesians were coming to South America, Central America, West Coast, you know what I'm saying? And that we're just finding out because we're looking at, oh shit, why is this Peruvian chicken, bones over here and this burial site on this island? Or how come this, right, back and forth, right? So minds started to open up, doors started to open up on that side. But even like these huge African, I'm saying it, I'm spraying it, these huge African empires were going around, bro, making their way around, all right? For instance, I'll give you an example, right? You look at Africans in Africa, okay? Like that. Let's say they haven't mixed, through whether it be slavery or through, migration or whatever. Yeah. They're for the most part they have stayed in Africa, like this whole period of time. And then you look at people from like Papua New Guinea. Yeah. They look the same. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Certain tribes look exactly the same. Sure. Yeah. Right. But then you look at like Aboriginal people. Yeah. They got straight hair. They don't look exactly the same. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the idea is like they were African, but they got in contact with Neanderthals that were still around, and they crossbreeding.
Different characteristics.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like these huge empires, like for instance, like the Mayans and all that stuff. We want to talk about on an alien tip, like it's a power stations and maybe you know what I'm saying. But like there was also the you'll see they're starting to dig up these statues that have very African American, belay my last, I'm a fucking idiot, African traits, on these islands, these big statues with like very African features and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, how the hell did they get there? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Is it the Mali Empire or something, man? They traveled all the fuck around. You know what I'm saying? And like we don't either is not given like credit or due, but they also brought that knowledge.
Yeah.
that you know that from pyramids and all that ancient knowledge that we are, you know. You're gonna get me going, man.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you. So that's why I'm saying, like, things are. It seems that things are kind of like only giving us this narrow perspective to think a certain way instead of like, hey, man, open your eyes, look around you. You know.
When you think about it, historical records is still a relatively new thing, right? And we'll say,
Sure.
history sort of technically started with civilization.
Yeah.
Roughly what 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, something like that.
Well, no, so people like
written history.
No, well, even before then,
Yeah,
like you have Alexandria, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, the Sumerians.
The Sumerians. That was written
almost like 8,000-9,000 years ago. They had that shit on like tablets and stuff.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of that, you know, but it's
right. Even that.
But there's
right?
a lot of lost knowledge.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the point, right? Let's say you go back 10,000 years ago and there's some records, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the human species as we are today is still relatively new. At what, 100,000 or 200,000 years old or something like that.
Right.
The human species, though, and there were several human species way back when.
Right.
We go way back. I mean, there's so much information lost, you know.
Yes.
And I mean, the prime example of the pyramids in South America, you know, this wasn't just endemic to Africa.
Yep.
You know.
Right.
So how did that happen? You know,
how did it get
there?
There
had to be an exchange of information, you know, across
Somehow.
oceans.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was a long time ago when all the land was, you know,
like
supposedly
Pangea?
one big clump.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
But that was like,
that happened a few times. But yeah.
For sure.
But they got to these places by boats.
Yeah.
They traveled by boats. It wasn't just the Spaniards or the seafaring people or just the Polynesians. There were amazing seafaring people. Like this, there's a lot of history that is lost, and I think a lot of it is. And I get like that conspiracy. Like it's not. They don't want people to know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't want to like. And they might not know 100%, but there's somebody who fucking knows. You know what I'm saying? That's how you even get some of this information right now. You know what I'm saying? It's been passed.
It's the aliens, bro.
Bro, don't even get me started, bro. We are the aliens, bro.
We are the aliens.
We are the aliens.
No, but like people like Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson, great people.
Oh, man.
Because they've been like pushing this information backed with data about a cosmic event of.
Right.
You know, it just created 12,800 years ago.
Right.
And all the science community was pushing back against all their data. No. And now a science journal just came out and said, we had a cataclysmic event 12,800 years ago.
Sounds familiar.
There's evidence.
Yeah, so weird, right?
Boom.
Yeah.
Comets huge, breaking up over our atmosphere, causing the ice age, or for the ice age to melt.
Right. Or the ice caps, right.
Ice caps. Yeah,
right.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But now there's evidence, and they've had geological evidence for however long, so that people like them are super important to have
Huge.
in the industry, and now they're getting the credit I think they deserve.
And I think that's good because like what they were, so Graham Hancock also, you know, he has like all different types of books or what have you, but then people will say, oh no, he's you know, he's not a real scientist or whatever it is. Motherfucker's more a scientist than you, motherfucker, because you know what? He also opened his mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he's backing that up. You know? So it's like, you're stuck in this one way. You might be part of conspiracy, bro, holding everybody down.
And they might be right.
Right.
You know, the other scientists at the time that are pushing back, yeah, they could be right about the situation, but now there's so much data that supports
refute, right.
what they said. It's hard. It's getting hard for them to refute any of that.
Right.
And they, you know, it's interesting, and I'm so glad that, bro, what if we get them on the podcast?
That'd be sick.
Fuck, dude.
That'd be sick, man.
Oh my god.
You know, I mean, science is not a closed book.
No.
Right? I mean, the whole premise
changes.
of the scientific method or whatever is that you never, you know, even if you see something happen in front of your eyes, the final sort of principle of the scientific method is that, you know, it's an assumption, right? What you saw is an assumption.
Yep.
And so when you look at, say, you know, scientists that deal with cosmos and this and that, or maybe not those guys, but scientists who believe that there aren't aliens or something like that, they're closed-minded, and they're sort of deviating from the principles of what science really is, right? So maybe you don't believe in aliens as a scientist or whatever, but you should be open to it because that's what science is.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That's 100%.
And it's hard unless you're like a quantum theorist to actually wrap your mind around the possibilities of whether or not, but like mathematicians are saying it's a mathematical impossibility that there's not another civilization out there.
Yeah.
So these are like mathematicians that are taking actual data and saying we have
By the numbers, bro.
like Stephen Hawking, the rest of his soul, you know, he's one of the ones that said, you know, the Big Bang, there was an infinite number of Big Bangs that happened,
Mm-hmm.
which means that there's multiple dimensions and universes. Scientifically, there's the possibility for them.
Right.
And if not one of those had another civilization like ours, then, you know, it's not possible.
Or there's another you or me living in another dimension where I have elephant ears and I'm taller than you. You know what I mean? But like, what we consider, what we want to think aliens are, like Avatar, you know, the Green Man or whatever it is. It might just be on a whole. It might not be. It might just be on a whole nother plane, and it's like a plate that fucking flagellates and stuff like that, and that's how it talks, and we don't understand it.
Yeah.
We see it as like just a puddle on the ground, or, you know, what have you.
Or we can't see it at all. That's another thing. Maybe we can't see whatever it is. They're on a different frequency.
Right.
Who knows, bro?
Yeah.
Who knows? But you got to be open to the possibilities.
Yeah, but to say it's not
it's
there,
definitely
right?
not. When you can't. I guess it's hard because, you know,
You need facts.
You need facts.
Proof,
you need data, and I know mathematically it's possible, right? But scientifically, they need to be able to reproduce their theories and their models and update their models and say, hey, okay, when we come up with a theory, let's go ahead and test it. Okay, that looks good. And until somebody comes with a new theory that either refutes that or tries to replace that, that's why, like, the scientific community, they like badger the person that comes up with that, and that's part of the science. To get good science,
right? You have to be critical.
You have to be critical.
Oh, for sure.
You have to be. Like, that is wrong because it hasn't been proven yet.
Right.
You know, we can't test it. So I get that too. I get that side.
Yeah, but you also see, maybe deviating a little bit, but standing within that paradigm, you see where science is also becoming sort of, I mean, it's a community, but it's and put it out there, we're talking about global warming here, right? There's two sides of the story. People who don't believe global warming exists, and people who do believe it, right?
Yeah.
And of course, well, it's not global warming anymore, right? It's climate change.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Which
a
is
safer
kind of
word.
a dumb name
It's
because
safer,
the climate's always changing or whatever.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, I mean, there's data, right? But the data is relatively new. Even data regarding, you know, thousands of years ago, where, you know, we were recording shit back then, right? But not to the level we are now as far as weather and climate goes.
It's been a little over 100 years where we've collected like weather patterns and data.
Which
like
is
that.
nothing, right?
Which
Nothing.
is nothing.
Right.
So it's all speculation as to what's going to happen, but there is evidence that the climate has changed, which of course dramatically, right? I mean, with the freezing of the oceans, you know, and the water level is down or up, whatever the hell, hundreds of feet, right? Different.
Oh yeah.
You know.
For sure.
So like all the ice core samples that have been taken, that was like their proof from these core samples saying, okay, you know, this is the timeline. If they even have that correct, which I'm pretty sure they have, pretty fucking close. That's their kind of history on, you know, how things work, because they break it down to like the chemicals, the molecules, you know, whatever particles was all that shit. So I think that's their basis. But the question is, okay, so why is it changing, right? So is it because their ozone? Well, the ozone's kind of closing up, right? They run that report saying the ozone's healing.
It's healing itself.
Mama Earth is healing up in the ozone.
Yep.
All right, so why is it changing now? Could it be because we're raping this fucking planet? You know what I'm saying? What I'm passionate about that, because I think my biggest thing about the whole raping of the planet is because, you know, it seems like the powers that be are fucking like treating my fucking house like it's disposable, man. Like, not like, oh, we throw everything away. Not just that. Not even that's like fucking tiny. Like, why is it like the governments and of the world, not every country, you know, or state, but they're treating it like, bro, we have another one to go to. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna fucking pull this shit out the ground until there ain't no more. We're gonna fucking dump this here. We're gonna dump that. Like, where's your plan B?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know you're not gonna live forever, motherfucker. Like, what do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, are you really a humanoid?
And for people to completely disregard that we are doing some terrible things out there, you know, and I mean, we've got the organization Fishermen for Sustainability that we're kind of trying to get off the ground here, you know, but the whole premise of that is that our nearshore waters in Hawaii specifically, the marine life has been decimated. I mean, we've seen areas where there is no fish. It's unbelievable, you know, but then you go on on the beach and you got 10 people out there with fishing poles, you know, not that they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
They're not educated, you know, in that way. And it's amazing. I think going back to the capitalist thing we were talking about before, where it's just all about money, 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 you know, no matter whatever happens to the environment. And I do give a lot of companies credit today, right? I mean, most companies, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Most companies are not these big, bad, huge entities.
Right.
But there are definitely those bad ones out there that pollute the environment, that, you know, take the resources from any specific region and just, you know, how do you take all the resources from an area? It's only one way, right? You can't put it back in.
Yeah.
Right. There's no sustainability about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Well,
Sorry.
Even like capital, like the term capital, right? What does it mean? Money, revenue.
Sure.
That's all it is. Profit. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean greed. You know, that's just the company's CEO or the president that is greedy with this capitalistic environment or this framework, right? Capital, just getting capital. That's a company's goal.
Yeah.
Every company, if you start a company, except for like nonprofits and stuff, your goal is to make money.
Right.
Now, how you do that defines the kind of company you are.
It also defines what kind of capital you're.
Yeah, it does. Capital doesn't mean evil.
Right, it's not-
Capital doesn't mean greed.
Right.
You know.
For sure,
A
it's
lot of
established.
people attack on that.
It's capitalism, right?
Capitalism,
Yeah.
fucking evil. You
No.
know, this, that, and the other. No, it doesn't mean that. It just means profit.
Right. Your capital could be.
However you get that capital.
I could pay you in capital with smiles.
Yeah.
That's a kind of
That
capital.
is, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So.
it's free trade. Free
But
market.
this is the part that's tripping me out. Is that like, you know, like you're saying that it's not about like these corporations are bad or, you know, and there are bad ones, but it's not just that. Like, for what I'm trying to like get at is like, why? Even like wars, all this shit is if you look at it, if you step back and look at it, and you know, we'll sell it as this ideal. Maybe it is that ideal that we're fighting against, or we'll sell it. But it's also about resources in that area, controlling resources, controlling areas. You know, it's about control.
Oh yeah.
Why are we? What are we doing?
Why
Like,
are we participating in
What?
that?
Why are we we're doing it for the resources or like control of those resources.
Yeah.
But fucking why? You know what I'm saying? Like, why aren't we doing renewable shit? You know what I'm saying? Because once that shit's gone, it's gone unless you get a bunch of people and we're enslaved for farting in the fucking ground and now we have natural gas.
Yeah.
You know, that's our only recyclable fucking way of doing that. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's not kosher, bro. It doesn't seem right. You know what I'm saying? Something is fucking off on everything.
Yep.
And it fucking grinds my gears. That's from something. I forgot to grind my gears. Yeah, it fucking, dude, it's like a fucking, like a cavity.
It is.
And it bothers me, and I cannot figure it out. I cannot fucking figure it out, bro.
Yeah, and I'll say, you know, thank goodness that is sort of the direction where business and government is going nowadays with, you know, pushing the renewable resources, which
Tesla,
we should be doing.
SpaceX, oh my god.
Yeah, the argument against it is the cost, right? Which I don't argue against that. I mean, you have to spend money to develop this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And currently, a lot of these sort of new technologies still aren't sustainable. Not environmentally sustainable, right? But sustainable as far as paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, with oil, you buy it, right? The cost, I don't know how to put this, cost outweighs benefit or whatever.
I think I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah, so if somebody's got to pay for this stuff, let's say solar panels are slowly becoming more affordable, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you don't generate a whole lot of electricity. You can generate enough electricity for your home, right? And it makes sense if everybody does that, but at a cost of what, $80,000 for one home system, not everybody can afford that.
Right.
Type of deal, you know.
It's like you got to pay that up front, and then it comes back to you as things get cheaper and more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the maintenance is pretty ridiculous from what I understand. I can't do it because I got a condo or whatever. I'd love to, you know. But there is a concept called corporate social responsibility that I learned way back when, and I'm surprised I actually kind of remembered it. And I just Googled it up here, you know, and it's sort of a new wave of corporation. You will find actual corporate social responsibility departments, and a lot of these big businesses, you know, small businesses don't have the resources to do this kind of stuff, but it's having people in these businesses to make sure that the company is doing what they're supposed to do to either give back, make sure they're treating the environment
The impact,
correct ways, minimizing impacts and stuff like that.
Well, that's, I mean, even, so, SpaceX, Elon Musk, Tesla, right? So, I don't know why he was the first person to do it, but renewable rockets.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
Yeah.
that makes sense,
I
right?
saw that shit on Bugs Bunny.
Dude,
He made it
that
happen,
is
bro.
Incredible. That is
Remember Marvin the Martian, bro? Take off, come back down. I was like, this fucker's doing it.
He's doing it.
And he just, I guarantee you watch cartoons and you see that and you made it happen.
Yep.
Because you believe and I believe in
I'm
you.
telling you, man, like, that's common sense. And he came along and he did it.
Yeah.
But he had to invent it because nobody else did it. NASA didn't do it. Nobody else did it. It was just, it cost so much, so that's why we don't go on space missions as often.
Now it's not that way.
Now it's not that way.
Right.
You can send up a rocket, they come back, and the thing's out there. He sent a car to fucking space. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think unfortunately his most recent rocket didn't make it, right?
Oh, so one of them. One of them.
No. One of the returns. So out of 3,
Right.
2 of them came back.
Yeah, 2 of them landed in synchro. The last one that was supposed to be on the floating pier, it crashed.
And,
Oh.
and
But
there's
still.
like rumors about that it was just, he called up the Air Force and was like, blow it up. Because it would have cost more money.
Well, they have
to
video of
fucking-
it crashing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
crashed.
Yeah.
But instead of hauling it back,
Oh, yeah, demo.
and
Yeah.
they just go practice.
Smart, yeah.
Go practice.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think but I think
Smart
like
baby.
he's one of those people that are, it's, I hate to like use like an analogy, like he's our, because it's a cartoon, was Iron Man, what the hell's his name? The philanthropist, an Iron Man.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so, I don't like to make that comparison, but that's the best way I can, but he's gonna push us
Yeah.
forward, you know what I'm
Of
saying?
course.
He's
Yeah.
pushing us forward, and that's what we need, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, you know what I'm saying? But see, we were worried about overpopulation. We're worried about all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's the best way to handle that? Build up, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, go check out Mars, see what we can do there. I don't want to go. I love that Earth.
Yeah.
But you might offer somebody some great opportunities, in a great life. You do this much time, you come back, you live a certain way, rotation, build a space city,
Yep.
all this stuff. And I think he's the trigger to that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least the idea that he's
Yeah.
promoting.
Speaking of, I just heard this a few days ago or a week ago or something. I don't know if it's Elon Musk, but some organization is offering or will offer soon a few people the rare opportunity to go to Mars with the stipulation that you will be dead before you get there.
Right, you will die. Yeah, there's I think 10,000 people or something that signed
Something
up.
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, would you take that off?
If I was terminal, bro.
If I was terminal, I
Terminal,
might.
yeah.
I might, yeah. If I was terminal,
Yeah.
for sure. But because I have a Leica,
Yeah,
I don't think I can do that. I don't have an obligation.
not that passionate about that.
I'm not, but I'm passionate about the efforts that humans do make.
Right.
And it kind of sucks that we gotta sacrifice some lambs, right, to do that.
Well, we're not like they're sacrificing themselves.
They're sacrificing. right. No, that is. But
Yeah.
it's sad that kind of has to happen, but it's part of the progress moving forward.
Right.
And they're going voluntarily. But if I was terminal, fuck yeah. I'd do
Yeah.
that. Even now, if I was terminal, I'd try to spend as much time as I can with the Leica, and
Make sure he's good to go.
make
and
sure
then
he's good to go, and
peace
then
out.
I'd be peace out.
Yeah.
That's fuck yeah, I'd do
Yeah.
that if I was terminal. That makes sense.
Yeah, you can kind of segue that into this new bill that was expected to be signed by Governor David Ige, the end of life something or other, basically allowing people to make decisions on their own life.
Oh.
It's going to become a reality now, and
Right.
why? And I really don't know where I stand on that. I'm more of a guy that I think, personal freedoms. If I want to make that choice, then I should have the right to make that choice. The other side of the argument is now you're involving other people because you can't do it yourself, right? Well, you can inject yourself, but
Yeah.
there's a doctor involved, right?
Right, you need the tools for it.
But if a
Like,
doctor is willing, I guess, I don't know if they're going to make a bunch of money off of it. Some people may call that, unsavory.
right.
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
There's a lot of ethical questions about it for sure. In one
Yeah.
sense, the other sense, like you're saying, like, if people are living in, pain and all this horror, whatever it is, it's not just like, oh, I feel bad about life, I want to kill myself. There should be some kind of prerequisite,
Yeah.
and it sucks for that person to have to make the call, saying, oh yeah, you can kill yourself. Oh no, you can't. So that ethical, like that is, this is a fucking tricky thing. But at the same time, like if this person is suffering, you know what I mean? From a disease or whatever it is, that it's like, hey, there's no coming out of it. they should be able to die humanely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
should have
not
that
just
option.
blow their fucking brains out or jump out a building. You know, like, you know.
That's a good point too. I mean, because instead of suffering, and I mean, scares a lot of people, the possibility of dying a certain way or even dying at all.
Right.
Scares people.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can choose the way that you die, not gruesome or anything like that, but choose this option, I think it might help people cope with death a little bit more. At the same time, the only ethical thing for me, and it's just my choice, is I would have a tough time making that decision.
For somebody else.
Well, even for me.
Oh yeah.
Just even for me, because what if they come up with a cure next week for whatever I fucking
Yeah,
have?
it's
You know, I'm
bro.
gonna
It's a
be down-
commitment, bro.
it's
Once
a
you go, you
commitment,
go.
bro.
But it's, you know what? I think the other simple way of probably trying to like think about it, because I'm known to complicate things
Yeah.
because I think too much sometimes or don't think enough. So I'm a fucking weirdo. It's like hospice,
Yeah.
but like with like an exit door, not just waiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hospice. It's kind of like, I think it would be set up like that, where the person is in this environment and this, that, and the other, and then you say goodbye. And
Yeah.
you know, to me, that's a beautiful way, even though it's death. It's a more beautiful way of thinking about it.
Sure.
But that's just my fucking imagination. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to give another
Yeah.
possible perspective.
You can plan it. You can have your family there. You know, there's a couple other arguments against it, which would be the religious aspect of it, right? A lot of people, Christianity for the most part, would believe that you would go to hell. You know,
Right.
and the other reason against it would be manipulation by family members.
Right.
Right. So there's some really
You
strong
have,
arguments.
you have a big
against it.
inheritance, and they're like, no, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Come
You
need me to
on,
help
you're
you?
murdering us.
Bring
Yeah.
it, yes.
Uh.
Take that shit.
Yeah.
No, that's legit. That's
There's a
yeah.
lot against it, you
That's
know.
a
but,
good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I never fucking
Yeah,
thought of
because
it.
people are fucking sick sometimes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
lot.
But again, what are the pros? You know, you can plan it. If you're in pain, you can get rid of your pain.
Yeah.
You have the choice would be a benefit all of its own. And the biggest thing of all, probably, well, besides the being able to plan it with your family, right? Because you know how it is when your family passes away and you're
Right.
5,000 miles away. But the cost of medical care,
Yeah.
especially hospice,
Mhm.
you know, you're talking, you know, for what, a couple, let's say 1 year of hospice. I don't know what the number is, but I know it's
well over
exorbitant.
$100,000. Well over $100,000.
Amazing. And that's just enough right there to bankrupt that guy or girl and
Family. Yeah.
yeah, their inheritance for their children and grandchildren. I mean,
Right.
it's-
I
the cost is unreal.
I think for the long-term care facility for my mom, it was going to cost somewhere around $20,000 a month.
That's
I
amazing.
think that's how much it was going to cost. And that's
What, $250,000 a year?
now.
you know?
Now the insurance that my dad had at the time, or it still has, Cigna, I believe. They were going to cover majority of it as long as the doctors didn't say there's no chance. As long as they didn't say that there's no chance and she's guaranteed going to pass,
Right.
they were still going to cover her insurance. Majority of it. Like they covered, I think, 90% of that 20,000 or 28,000 a month, which is a lot.
That still leaves a lot of money left
Yeah,
for you to pay.
yeah.
That's
And it
unbelievable.
may have even been like 80-20. They were going to cover 80% of it. We'd have to cover 20. But doing that every month, holy shit, we can only do it so long, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, the cost of medical care is crazy, you know, and not to get too much into my personal business, you know, but my wife and I were kind of faced with this really odd situation, you know, where we had to find health insurance for our kids, and I actually went on the, what is it called, the state exchange or the federal exchange, which is an
Obamacare thing.
Obamacare,
Yeah.
more or less. And the quotes I got were $1,000 a month, or $500 a month for each kid.
Oh.
$1,000 a month, right? And this is Obamacare. This was supposed to be low cost. I think they
Affordable.
actually touted it that it was be free for a lot of people. I don't expect it to be free for me, and I wouldn't want it to be, right? But what I don't expect is for a taxpaying citizen who pays a lot in taxes to have to pay that much per month, you know, and that doesn't even cover my wife and myself.
Right.
That's just for the kids, you know.
That's crazy.
Right.
It's unbelievable, man.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So again, what do? Shit, pay $1,000 a month, man. It's crazy.
Either way, it's like this country's almost set up to make you broke, to live paycheck to paycheck. When I know that's not true because there's a lot of opportunities for people.
Right.
For sure, I
Right.
get that. But a lot of the government programs still need a lot of work. It is not nearly as good as
Yes.
it's preached on these State of the Union addresses or whatever, you know. We
And there's a
need a
lot
lot
of
of
work.
work. America is not perfect, but I think we, as a people, can come together and still make the best effort and still do it every 10 years, have something, not saying that that's a good interval, but every 10 years you look at the situation and how the world has changed and kind of adapt to it.
Look how it's changed in like the last fucking 2.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah,
You know, insurance are fucking crooks.
yeah.
They're fucking crooks. Even car insurance.
Costs a lot of money.
They're
man.
all fucking
Yep.
crooks, bro.
Yeah.
It's true. It's, and that, I think it's a fucking shame. That really pisses me off. You know, like, because some people are in these situations where they don't. This is the only option.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do my best to pay that money because it's for my child's benefit or whatever. But we're gonna be eating fucking ramen, spam and shit. You know what I mean? Like.
Months.
We all gonna, it's, but you're gonna make that decision because,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
Insurance companies, as an industry, I think it is the most, maybe profitable is not the word, but they own the most assets of any industry, well into the tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. And I think the Farmers Insurance, the parent company, whatever it's called, I don't know. These are the companies that, if you recall, were too big to fail, right, back during the early days of the recession.
Yep.
And for a company to hold so many assets, right, and still charge their customers these exorbitant amounts of money, why are you, maybe it's something that I just don't understand, but why hold on to these assets when, you can liquidate the assets or not have them in the first place?
Yeah.
And make your customers' rates lower, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
Well, it's even the cost is medical costs. United States is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. You go to any other country.
It's a corrupt motherfucking business.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's not enough resources. You know what I mean? Like fucking people's. That's that greed shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's
That's
greed shit,
Yeah. It's a fucking.
It's a racket, man.
Yeah. It's.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
But
Some good talking, man.
Yeah, I liked it.
This was a good podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on, man. I really enjoyed it. Next time I won't drink so much caffeine and get fucking. Because it's almost like I'm trying to talk something and it's like emotions coming out strong.
And you're like,
yeah, I want to like smash things. Yeah, yeah. But I got you, man. Yeah, I'd like to do it again, man. If
I've
you're
been
down.
waiting for you to come on. I'm so excited for you to finally leave here. And,
Thanks, brother. I'm proud to be here.
We'll do it again. All right, guys.
Is this it? Hey, if you're watching, be sure to subscribe. We really need the subscriptions.
Yep.
The podcast isn't going to go anywhere, but we need your support big time.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you next week.
One love.